Nal and Mr. Anshuman Singh. Our first speaker today is Mr. Tushar Jani. He is the chairman currently of the Cargo Service Center, India. Mr. Tushar Jani has more than 35 years of experience across sectors including shipping, transportation, aviation, logistics, as well as express logistics. In fact, just a few years back, he sold his company, which was India's largest express company called Blue Dart, to DHL. He's an innovative entrepreneur. He has founded and mentored many companies, and he is also the chairman of the SCAR group of companies. Mr. Jani is the founder chairman of Express Industry Council of India and was responsible for starting the courier terminals at airports. Mr. Tushar Jani holds several prestigious positions in trade and industry circles. He was the past president of Association of Multimodal Transport Operators of India, and he is currently our special invitee on the board. He is chairman of the Logistics Committee of FAI, Western Regional Council of Confederation of Indian Industry, member and ex-chairman of the CII National Committee on Logistics, and member and ex-chairman of the Maharashtra State Council of CII. He will be addressing us on Logical India. Over to you, Tushar.
Good afternoon. I was asking David that was the conspiracy to move our session from earlier to now. And is it geopolitical? Is it logical? Or is it a conspiracy? David did not answer, so I asked the Remy chairman, and he said it was done at the breakfast table because breakfast was not very enjoyable, and say, blame it to India. So it's Logical India. Everybody knows what India is. It's a giant which is sleeping, which is going to wake up. It is in waiting to come up in life and in public and in the world. We have a new prime minister who is 64-year-old, who is bachelor, has no responsibility other than the responsibility of the nation. And also he claims he has got a 56 inch of his chest. So if anyone wants to try to hit us, we go and take shelter behind him. So that's our prime minister. He's going all around the world right now and making India popular. So that's Logical India to start with. We got freedom in 1947, and we were ruled by Britishers for 150 years. So, Britishers have gone, but what we have in Logical India today, if you go into government office, there's a little cardboard, and all government papers are put on that. There's a little cloth which get over, and you tie with a string, and that's how the file moves. So that's what Britishers taught us many years before, and we're continuing that. So that's another part of Logical India, which we're trying to change with digital India. So let's look at it what India is, and then we'll know where we can go. And then I will touch base what we've been doing in part of the industry. These are a lot of reference points, so I'm going to skip through, but you can use it in future whenever you want. So 2.04 trillion, largest economy with global GDP part of 77.61 trillion, member of G20, member of BRICS, and developing country among the top 20 global traders, accounting for the World Trade Organization. We are 1.2 billion people. The world cannot ignore us. That's how we are saying. The average, I would be talking some patriotic things. I hope I'm allowed my apology if I've been overdoing it, but allow me to do that, just to wake you up, nothing else. The average annual growth rate of the Indian economy since 1950 has been 5.83 and 6.9 for 13-14 and going to be 7.4 in 14-15. Agriculture sector is the largest employer in India, and guess who is the second largest employer in India, which is not on the slide? is the transportation sector, and nobody remembers us. So including my office, which has prepared this presentation, even I've forgotten that. Imagine the loss of identity what we have. The manufacturing sector has held constant share, and economy service sector, India is known by IT, and the IT is all service sector. The world's, most of the IT processes have been now done backroom in the Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and Gurgaon in India. Since independence after 1991, Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and his finance minister, then Mr. Manmohan Singh, brought this so-called liberalization, and then we got a new lease of life actually. We were almost bankrupt. And from that bankruptcy we have come, and now it is the most populated nation after China, with 1/6 the global population, and we are growing at 1.2%. India is widely regarded as, by the WTO, IMF, and other institutions as the new engine of global growth as it eclipses China in years to come. I'm not going to be against China or anything, but China is looking more inward now, and they don't want to look at more export, so that's where we see our opportunity. India has the youngest population, 65% currently are below age of 35. Imagine, that's the power. So I just saw in the morning when the Dubai has been presented as the most efficient and most effective infrastructure and soft skill, and I'm very happy, and we can model Dubai from anywhere in the world, but the world will need human power, and India will be the only country which will be able to give that human power. So that's where India should aim. That's where our 56-inch chest Prime Minister now is talking about us. So I thought that's manufacturing service sector to lead India's growth. Inflation decrease over year. Our falling crude oil prices help us this year, and lower debt to GDP lighten the burden on Indian commercial borrowing. Current account deficit is going to go down to 1.5%. It was 4.5 earlier, which is now to 1.5, and that's a good news. As far as the Indian logistic industry, which is what we are all talking about, is valued at $130 billion, clocking a CAGR of over 16% in previous 5 years. This is the most of the logistic companies are valued well today, either in the stock market or in the private deals. I think that's a good news as far as we are concerned. The industry can be broadly divided into freight transportation via air, sea, road and rail, warehousing and cold storage for goods. The goods transported by road, imagine, is 60%, and by rail it is 32%, and goods transported by sea is 7.5%, and by air is 0.5%. And the air is growing faster now. India's logistic cost is one of the highest in the world at 14% of the total value of goods. Now imagine the cost reduction of 1% would save $7.5 billion for India. And if we bring it down to an efficient level of 7 to 8%, you can imagine the cost saving for India. World Bank study shows that as far as developing countries are concerned, these costs are 6 to 8%. China's cost is 10%. Severe congestion ports at the airport and leads to delay in transportation and higher carrying costs, high transaction costs towards insurance and government taxes. Just to give an example, a truck which leaves from Delhi to Chennai on a domestic transportation is stopped at 79 different toll checkposts, various checkposts. That's the kind of inefficiency what we have. And that's where the cost goes up. So we're looking now, we have a difficulty for infrastructure, but we also have a soft skill. But what we don't have is the soft processing from government, and that's been our burden. So what we are now as a logistics industry asking government that give us a soft processing ability. And that's what we are looking to bring the transportation costs down. 20 international airports and more than 40 domestic airports. There are 400 airstrips in India. And, this can be developed into the air. There are 60 airlines operating out of Delhi airport alone. International freight traffic accounts for 64% of the total freight, and domestic freight traffic accounts 36%. International freight was 1.4 million metric tons. Domestic freight stood about 0.8 metric tons. Now, if you look at the map of India, what we are currently doing in partnership with the government, we have identified 20 cargo airports to be developed. Now, it's in mind in our government and our people that if you receive cargo at the airport, the cargo must go by air. What we are telling government, it need not be go by air, it can go by truck to the hub airports and then move. So we are now trying to give a seamless connectivity from the smallest station to ultimate destination also could be a smaller. And this has come in primarily because of the emerging of e-commerce, which has been driving us like crazy. We're growing on an e-commerce volume by air 30% every month. 30% air freight volume every month over month. You can see the air freight which you sing here. Our Prime Minister has made a program called Make in India. It is not about Made in India, it is about Make in India. What our government wants, the world should bring their manufacturing into India for 2-3 reasons. A, the cost, B, the quality, and third, now we are going to do a timely delivery. That's what we are going to talk. So the whole Make in India program, just to give an example, the Indian defense imports a huge quantity of various arms and armaments. Now, Indian government wants those arms and armaments to be manufactured in India to bring the cost lower down and then export it out of India. So that's what the Make in India is all about. And as I said, the e-commerce sector, which is growing. Today, with the internet integration, what is happening in our country, every small man has a smartphone and internet connection. He knows mobile applicability, he knows how to order, and he wants that material to be delivered at his home. You'll be surprised, 28% of e-commerce the consignments which are delivered in India are cash on delivery, which is the phenomena only in India and the world. So the people have got used to now. Amazon, Flipkart, these are two companies which are emerging, has a valuation to the tune of about $7 to $8 billion. The logistic companies' valuation which are involved in e-commerce delivery are going from $200 million to $2.2 billion. That's the kind of e-commerce penetrations happening in the government proposed investment of $13.5 billion under 12th five-year plan, so more than double the 11th five-year plan to build and expand cargo terminals. Plan includes modernization of 35 non-metro airports. And government projects that around 500 airports in all would be required by 2020. From 60 plus airports, we are talking about 500 airports plus. That's the need of India. India's coastline, 6,700 kilometers, has 13 major ports, 6 each on west and coast east line. This is apart from the private major ports which has come out. So these are 13 major ports which is built by Government of India. There are equal number of private ports which has come in. There are more than 180 minor ports. They are called minor ports are dotted along the coast. But look at the irony. It's only some percentage, 6% cargo goes to the coastal line of domestic cargo of India. Major ports handle close to 65% of sea freight. Nearly third-fourth of the sea freight companies are doing dry and liquid bulk, that is coal, iron, crude oil, while the remainder consists of mostly general cargo. The cargo traffic growth at major ports have been averaged about 2.8%. The traffic growth in the minor ports is 13.5%. You can see the minor private ports are taking over the major government ports, which is like Port of Mundra, Port of Pipavav, Krishnavardhan, and other those private ports are taking over. The government envisages investment of $57.4 billion to take the total port capacity to 3,200 million metric tons as part of Maritime Agenda 2010-2020. And funding of the project under the maritime agenda is come largely from the private sector. That's your opportunity to invest into India. The private sector is expected to contribute about 66% of the investment. Only 9.1% India's merchandise trade is carried on Indian vessel, rest being carried by the foreign vessels. So that's why you have most of the foreign vessels which wants to come to India. Sagarmala project, which is government has now envisaged, is connect infrastructure come connectivity. Today the port connectivity is a major challenge. The JNPT port, which handles roughly about 4.5 million number of TUs, has a very bad road connectivity. Some of you might have seen the pictures where the trucks remain at the gate for about 6 kilometers, 5 kilometers to get in. They want to change it. The dedicated freight corridor and the inland waterways with rail and road network will be bringing the change and revolution the way the cargo, maritime cargo moves in India in time to come. The dedicated freight corridor we are developing in partnership with Japan. It's a $1 billion project, which is from JNPT to Delhi. The railroad and inland waterways will enable, the government is now exploring the inland waterways. So it will be road, rail, coastal and inland waterways. So you have got a 4 or 5 times of different multi-model. The cargo could go by air, then go by truck, then can go by inland waterways, then could go by on a coastal, and then could go by the rail. I think that's what we are, now coming into the next. I'm just taking to the semantics, but that's probably will happen. The Western Corridor, you can see all these 1,483 kilometers going from Delhi to, okay, doesn't matter. From Mumbai to Delhi all the way, and from Delhi to Kolkata, all the way on the eastern sector. So this is going to be a game changer. Indian Railways, one of the world's largest railway network comprising of 115,000 kilometers of tracks. And can you believe this figure? It carries 23 million passengers a day. A population of a country is moving in the train, right? And the railway freight traffic, which grows 8 to 11%, and it is the railway freight traffic which is subsidizing the passenger traffic today. So that's another aspect what we have to see. This is the tons and this is what they've achieved. And the rail budget this year,